It was a bright but chilly morning when Saad, a billionaire known for his sharp business skills and vast fortune, found himself walking through the narrow streets of a poor neighborhood. Saad was a man many admired for his success, but very few knew the secrets he kept inside. Behind his calm face was a man who carried loneliness and regret. Saad's life was full of big buildings, luxury cars, and expensive suits, but his heart always felt empty. He avoided crowds and stayed distant from people, afraid that they would see the pain hidden behind his wealth. On this day, something made him stop and walk into a place he had not visited for many years. The neighborhood was different from his usual world. The houses were small and old, the roads dusty and cracked. Children played barefoot on the street, and women shouted from the windows. Saad remembered this place from his childhood, a place he had once called home but left long ago. As Saad walked slowly, his eyes caught a small figure sitting quietly near a wall. It was a little girl, no older than 7 or 8 years. She had big dark eyes that looked tired beyond her age. Her clothes were torn and dirty, and her hair was messy. But what struck Saad the most was the sadness in her eyes. The girl's name was Zoya. She lived in this poor neighborhood with her mother, Amina, who was very sick. Life had been hard for Zoya. She worked every day helping her mother and trying to keep their small home clean. People in the neighborhood knew about her struggles, but they could do little to help. Zoya noticed Saad standing nearby. She had heard stories about a rich man who never returned to this place. Her small heart beat fast as she looked at him. Then, without warning, she stood up and walked toward Saad. Tears filled her eyes as she asked, "Why did you abandon me and my mother?" Saad was shocked. The question was so sudden, so full of pain that he could not speak. His eyes stared into hers, and for a moment, the years melted away. The memories he had tried to forget came rushing back. He remembered Amina, a young woman, full of life and hope. They had loved each other once before Saad became rich and powerful. But when troubles came, Saad made a choice to leave. He thought it was best for everyone, to protect himself and his dreams. But now, hearing Zoya's question, he knew that choice had hurt them deeply. Zoya's voice broke the silence. "Why did you leave us alone? Why didn't you come back? When we needed you." Saad's heart ached. He wanted to explain, to say sorry, but words failed him. Instead, he looked around at the poor houses, the tired faces, and the empty streets. He realized how much time had passed and how much damage his absence had caused. As Zoya waited for an answer, Saad's mind took him back in time. He saw Amina's hopeful eyes, their promises made under a small tree, and the day when everything changed. He remembered the day he left, running away from problems instead of facing them. But now, standing there in front of Zoya, he felt a deep need to make things right. The people nearby watched silently. They knew Saad's name but never expected him to come back. No one had seen Zoya's tears before. Her brave question had opened a door to a past full of secrets. Saad took a deep breath and finally spoke. "I left because I was afraid. I thought it was the best for you both, but I was wrong." Zoya looked at him carefully, not sure if she could believe him. Her small voice whispered, "Can you fix what is broken?" The billionaire's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, Saad felt a hope he had not known before, a chance to heal the wounds of the past. But the question remained. What had really happened to Zoya and her mother all these years? And could Saad's return bring light to their dark world? Or would it only bring more pain? The story was just beginning. After Saad's quiet confession, the small crowd around them grew tense. No one expected the billionaire to show such emotion, especially in a place so far from his usual world. Zoya looked at Saad with a mix of anger and curiosity. She needed answers, but more than that, she wanted to understand why the man she once called father had left them alone. Saad invited Zoya and her mother, Amina, to his large house, a place full of bright lights, soft carpets, and expensive furniture. To Zoya and Amina it felt like a different world, one they had only seen from afar. At first, Zoya was scared to enter, but the kindness in Saad's Eyes made her step inside. Inside the mansion, Saad began to tell the story he had never dared to share. He spoke about the struggles he faced when he first became rich, how his family's old enemies tried to hurt him, how the pressure of the business world grew too heavy, and how he thought leaving would protect his loved ones. But the truth was heavier than he let on. Amina's eyes filled with tears as Saad's story unfolded. She too had suffered in silence. After Saad left, life became a daily fight to survive. Amina's illness worsened, and without money or support, she struggled to care for Zoya. Neighbors helped when they could, but it was never enough. Zoya listened carefully, her heart aching with each word. She had grown up believing she was abandoned because of hate or neglect. Now she saw that Saad's departure came from fear and pain, though it did not make it any easier to forgive. As the evening passed, Saad promised to help. He wanted to bring medicine for Amina and find a way to give Zoya a better life. But before any healing could start, an unexpected visitor arrived. At the door stood a man with a serious face, holding papers in his hand. He introduced himself as a lawyer, sent by Saad's business partners. He said there were urgent problems with Saad's company. The business was in danger, and Saad had to return to face the crisis immediately. Saad's heart sank. He was torn between the family he wanted to save and the empire he had built. He looked at Zoya and Amina, feeling the weight of his choices. Zoya, seeing his pain, held his hand and said softly, "We need you here, Saad, not the empire." Saad realized that the true power was not in his wealth or status, but in the people who needed him. But the lawyer's words left a shadow. What kind of danger awaited Saad? Could he protect his business and finally make peace with his past? The night ended with more questions than answers. Saad knew the road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time he was ready to face it, for Zoya, Amina, and himself. The next morning, the mansion was filled with a tense silence. Saad sat by the large window, staring out at the city below. His mind raced with worries about the company's crisis and the safety of Zoya and Amina. He knew that his business rivals wouldn't stop at just threatening his empire. They might even try to harm the people he cared about most. Zoya watched him quietly. She wanted to help but felt powerless. All she knew was that the man who once seemed cold and distant was now someone fighting hard to protect her and her mother. Suddenly, the lawyer returned with urgent news. A mysterious letter had arrived at the company, filled with threats and warnings. Someone wanted Saad to lose everything, his business, his reputation, and possibly more. Saad called his trusted assistant, Farhan, and instructed him to increase security around the mansion and the company. Farhan promised to do everything to keep them safe. Meanwhile, Zoya and Amina tried to adjust to their new life. Zoya started attending a nearby school Saad arranged for her, while Amina received proper medical treatment. Though grateful, Zoya felt the heavy weight of the past on her young shoulders. One afternoon, while Saad was busy handling the company crisis, Zoya wandered into the mansion's old library. There she found an old photo album filled with pictures of a younger Saad, Amina, and a happy little girl, a life she had only heard about in stories. As she flipped through the pages, Zoya felt a strange mix of sadness and hope. She wondered if their family could ever be whole again. Just then, a sudden loud noise startled her. Someone was trying to break into the mansion. Zoya froze, her heart pounding. Farhan and the security team rushed in, catching the intruder before any harm was done. The intruder was an unknown man with no clear explanation for his actions. Saad realized this was no longer just a business war. It had become personal. That night, Saad sat with Zoya and Amina, promising that no one would hurt them again. But deep inside, he knew the fight was far from over. The question remained: who was behind these attacks, and how far would they go to destroy Saad's life? Zoya's simple life had turned into a dangerous game of secrets, threats, and survival. But she was ready to face it with the man she had once called a stranger, now her protector. Days passed, But the danger around Saad's family did not fade. Saad knew he had to find out who was behind these threats before it was too late. With the help of his private detective, he started digging into the mysterious letter and the strange man caught trying to break in. Meanwhile, Zoya was growing stronger each day. School gave her a small escape from the fear and sadness at home. She made new friends but kept her past a secret. Only Amina and Saad knew everything about their difficult history. One evening, Saad sat with his detective, reviewing the evidence. Slowly, a picture started to form. The threats were linked to a business rival who had always wanted to take over Saad's empire. This rival was ruthless and would stop at nothing to ruin Saad's life. Saad realized the stakes were higher than he thought. His rival was using every dirty trick to hurt him, and now his family was caught in the middle. Zoya overheard part of the conversation and felt scared. She didn't want anyone to hurt Saad or her mother, but she also knew she had to be brave. That night, as Saad planned the morning sun barely lit the sky when Saad woke up with a heavy heart. He knew today would be the start of a tough battle, not just for his business but for his family's safety. The threats had grown stronger, and the rival was not going to give up easily. Saad called a meeting with his top lawyers and business team. They planned every step carefully to protect his company from being taken over. The rival had already spread rumors to damage Saad's reputation, so they needed a strong defense. Meanwhile, Zoya and her mother Amina stayed close, watching Saad with hope and worry. Zoya understood that this battle was more than just about money. It was about their future and survival. At school, Zoya tried to focus on her studies, but her mind was full of fear. She worried about what might happen next. Would the threats come closer? Would they lose everything? One afternoon, as Saad was leaving the office, he noticed a suspicious man following him. The man's eyes were cold and dangerous. Saad's heart pounded, but he stayed calm. He used his security team to confront the man, who quickly disappeared into the crowd. Saad realized this was just the beginning. The enemy was bold and ready to go to any lengths, but Saad also knew he was not alone. With Zoya and Amina by his side and his loyal team, he would fight this darkness. That night, Saad sat with Zoya and her mother. He promised them that no matter what, he would protect them and bring peace back to their lives. Zoya smiled faintly, feeling stronger than before. She had never seen Saad like this, so determined and caring, but deep inside she knew the road ahead was dangerous. The rival was powerful, and the truth they uncovered was only the surface. The real challenge was still waiting, and only time would tell who would win this fight. Days passed, but the tension only grew. Saad worked hard to protect his business and family, but something still bothered him. He felt that the rival was hiding more than just a desire to take over his company. One evening, Saad received an unexpected message. It was from an old friend who had information about Zoya's past, a past that Saad had tried to forget. Saad met his friend in a quiet cafe. The friend told him a shocking secret. Zoya was not just any poor girl. She was connected to Saad's family in ways he never imagined. Long ago, before Saad became a billionaire, there was a promise made, a promise that involved Zoya's mother, Amina. This promise was broken, and it had caused pain for many years. Saad's heart ached as he listened. He realized that the reason Zoya asked, "Why did you abandon me and my mother?" was deeper than he thought. That night, Saad decided to face the truth. He wanted to explain everything to Zoya and Amina, but he also feared how they would react. Meanwhile, Zoya noticed changes in Saad. He was no longer the distant man she first saw. He was opening up, showing his true feelings. But before Saad could talk to them, the rival made a bold move. They leaked false information about Saad and Zoya's family, trying to separate them forever. The community was shocked and Zoya felt betrayed. She didn't know whom to trust anymore. Saad promised himself he would fight not only for his business, but to clear Zoya's name and heal their broken family. The battle was no longer about money. It was about love, trust, and forgiveness, and Now the biggest secret was about to come out, one that could change everything forever. The day had finally come. Saad knew he had to tell Zoya and her mother everything, the full story that had been hidden for years. It was a moment filled with fear and hope. He invited Zoya and Amina to his office. The room was quiet, but tension filled the air. Saad looked at them both and took a deep breath. "I need to tell you the truth," Saad began. "Many years ago I made a mistake. I was young and afraid. I left without explaining, and it hurt you both deeply. But I never stopped caring." Zoya's eyes filled with tears. She had wanted answers for so long. Now, finally, she was hearing the truth. Saad continued. "Your mother, Amina, was very important to me. We had plans for the future, but things went wrong. I lost my way and didn't stand by you. For that I am sorry." Amina reached out and held Saad's hand. "We suffered a lot, but hearing this helps heal our wounds." Just then, Saad pulled out some old letters and photos, proof of his feelings and the promises he once made. Zoya looked at them carefully and smiled through her tears. "I forgive you, Saad. We all deserve a new start." At that moment, the rivals' lies were exposed by Saad's team. The community saw the truth, and support for Saad and Zoya grew stronger. Together, Saad, Zoya, and Amina began rebuilding their lives. Saad helped improve their home and provided the care they needed. The little girl who once asked, "Why did you abandon me and my mother?" now stood proudly beside the billionaire who chose love over pride. Their story became a lesson for everyone, that forgiveness can heal the deepest pain, and true family is built on trust and honesty. And so, their new beginning began, full of hope, love, and endless possibilities.